welcome to another episode of the Comfort Couch Show. My name is Mark Underwood, and I am broadcasting to you from my office in Camp Lemonnier at Djibouti, North Africa. I'm an MFLAC right now, a military family life counselor. I am a trained cognitive behavioral therapist, and what I do is work with anxiety and depression. It's what I specialize in, but that also extends to relationships. Two things people come into my office for over the years is they don't like what's going on in their headspace, their thoughts and emotions, or they don't like their relationships. And relationships are a hot topic, and that's what we're going to do today. The episode is entitled Muscle Car Pests and Demanding Seconds at a Bad Restaurant. And this is about identifying negative negotiators and what to do to counter negative negotiating. So let's get to this. This all goes back to a car I used to own. It's long gone. I probably sold it on eBay 15 years ago, 16 or 17 years ago. But I used to have a 1969 Dodge Dart GT, which the women listening to this podcast are going to go, I don't know what that is. Well, trust me, it's like an old muscle car. It was kind of like an old hot rod. And it was painted purple. I've got a picture of it. I'll try to put in the thumbnail when I have this done or rotate it on the screen on the YouTube channel. You won't be able to see it probably on the podcast on Apple or Spotify. But it was a pretty nice car. It was kind of painted like a Welch's purple. It had a black stripe around the tail. It had hood scoops. And it had color-coded rally wheels. And let me tell you, this car got attention. If I drove that car down the street, people would honk, they'd wave. If I pull into a gas station, they would stop and get out. And they'd ask me if it was for sale. And then they would tell me about the car they used to have or their uncle used to have. And it was always a good conversation. It was always usually admiring or, boy, I wish I had a car. I wish I could afford a car wasn't that expensive a car. It was not a $30,000 show car. And actually, I had one of the best moments of my life in that car from an ego standpoint. I was driving down Roosevelt Avenue in Jacksonville, and there were these three gals, I was probably almost 40, and they were in their early 20s, and they kept turning around and looking. And believe me, they were looking at the car. They weren't looking at me. But I couldn't see me. I had my sunglasses on. I'm driving. And finally, one of them turned around and blew a kiss at me. I told my wife, I said, I don't think it's going to get better than that. And she said, oh, it'll get better than that, because I'm going to set fire to that car. That's never going to happen again. We didn't set fire to the car. We sold the car. But before we sold the car, I used to get people that would leave notes on it here and there. And, hey, are you interested in selling this car? I didn't respond because I wasn't interested in selling the car. I just throw the notes away. Well, then what happened was, in the summers, my wife would drive the car because I had to drive 20, 25 minutes to work, and the car did not have air conditioning. Let me tell you, a 69 Dodge Dart GT did not have air conditioning, and I wasn't going to spend the $2,000 to put some kind of vintage air in there to make air conditioning work. So she said, Mark, I'll drive it to work because I work literally walking distance from our house. I'll just drive it if I feel like driving. So she'd drive the car. She was working as a photo lab manager at a Walgreens. It was literally a half mile from the house. And the same thing happened to her. She started getting notes on the car occasionally. And she'd tell me about them, but she wouldn't bring them. But there was this one persistent guy who must have left 3 or 4 notes because she recognized his name, like Larry or something, right? So finally, this guy, after not getting any response to the notes, he kept seeing the car there. He must have figured out, Larry's brain must have put 2 and 2 together and said, hey, whoever owns this car must work at this Walgreens, right? So he came in and said, hey, got to talk to the cashier. Who owns the purple Dart out there? And they pointed back to my wife working in the photo lab. She's running the photo lab. So he goes back and says, man, I really want to talk to you. Is your husband owns cars? He's selling. Listen, even if he's not, let me talk. And I cannot remember honestly whether I got this guy's phone number and called him or whether he got my phone number from my wife. She just gave it to him to get rid of him. But I remember the phone conversation because I was driving home from work and I had a flip phone. That's how it was 20 years ago. I had a flip phone. And this guy, I'm on the phone with him. And I remember how the conversation started. We said, hey, that's Larry, it's Mark. Hey, listen. And he launched into a list, a passionate list of everything that was wrong with the car. I mean, I didn't even get a word in. He said, I've seen that. I saw your car. I see it all the time. Really, but that they don't make 69 quarter panels to that car. So I know there's a lot of mud in those quarters, a lot of Bondo in those quarter panels. There's been a lot of repair work done. And that color, that's not a factory 69 color. They didn't start painting Dodges that color until 1970, so it's the wrong color. And the stripe around the back end is not a factory stripe, because it should say dark GT in the middle down by the marker lights. And the hood scoops. Well, they're the wrong hood scoops. It's supposed to have a call-out hood, different scoops, different, the wrong wheels. It shouldn't have color-coded rallies. That doesn't come on a GT. And the bench seat, it should be bucket. It went on and on and on. Probably for like 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm just listening to this guy devalue my car. So finally I say to him, I go, I'm convinced. And he goes, huh? I said, you've convinced me. He goes, convinced you of what? I think I picked up that he had a little excitement in his voice. Like he convinced me that the car wasn't worth very much. Nah, that wasn't it. I said, well, you've convinced me this isn't the car for you. I said, and he goes, huh? What? I said, no. You've told me it's the wrong color. It's the wrong, it's got the wrong hood, the wrong interior. It's not a factory correct motor. It's the wrong wheels. There isn't one thing on this car that fits what you're looking for. And the guy goes, well, I cut him off. I said, no, listen. I think what you're looking for is a factory restored, somebody that's factory restored a 69 Dodge Dart GT to the original color, frame off restoration. You want it the way it came off the sales, lot. I said, and you can find one for 30 grand, probably 35. They're on Hemmings, or maybe there's somebody on eBay. I said, listen, I wish you a lot of luck finding your car that you're looking for. And he goes, no, I really do. I said, no. No, you're not interested in my car because you've spent the last 5 minutes running it down. And I said, I just cut the guy off. I go, I wouldn't sell you this car at any price. Boom. Hung up on him. Guy was probably had no clue what happened, bewildered. Now, this isn't the only time this happened to me. I was in the restaurant business. Some, people that know me know I was a Domino's guy years and years ago. We had a few stores. My wife and I co-owned them with a friend. And I would get calls like this at the restaurant. I'd get a call and somebody would say, I ordered a pizza. And it made me sick last Thursday. And hey, listen, I'd like to get a replacement pizza for it. And I go, whoa, it made you sick? Yeah, my whole family, we had to go to emergency care. I said, wait, you had to go to emergency care? Yeah. Wow. I'm really sorry to hear that. I said, listen, do you have the receipt from that? And then the backtracking would start, right? And I'd say, listen, oh no, you don't need to do that. You just send us another pizza. No, wait a minute. You told me you got sick on my product. This is a concern, right? I'm worried about this. I wouldn't dream of sending you another pizza. It might make you sick too. Could be allergic to something. I don't know. I said, no. You bring your receipt in. I'll take care of the receipt. I'll pay you back and we'll square up with you. I'll take care of you. No, you don't need all that. No, I'm not sending you the pizza for free. Now, the whole time this guy's telling me this, I'm looking up his order. He didn't order on Thursday. He's just trying to scam me for some free food. Got used to that. Hey, the guy ends up cussing at me, and I'm like, no, I'll take care of you, man. Just bring your receipt in. He's mad because he can't get his free food. Scamming me out of it. Hangs up. Happens all the time. So what's really going on here? Well, what's going on is people are trying to get something for either less than it's worth or for nothing. And the way they're doing it is by telling you it's no good, which is a strange thing to say about something you want, right? You tell me it's no good, but it's clear. Well, here's what I think about this. I call this, my term is negative negotiating. I'm trying to get something I want by knocking its value down to get a cheaper price or to get it for free, either one. And what I think is that this is very deceitful. It's not an honest negotiating tactic. And my impression is that this is something that kids do. This is something that kids instinctively do. if you have small kids, you know how this works. When they want something, they don't have anything to negotiate to give you in trade. So instead of asking for it, which is a bad negotiating position, hey, mommy, can I have so-and-so come over and spend the night? You might get told no. Well, you have to figure out a way to make mom or dad feel guilty or feel like they're failing, so they'll give you what you want. So when people do this, to me, it seems kind of like a regression to kind of a childhood way of trying to consume things that you probably don't deserve or shouldn't have, right? But the key is, in both these instances, well, they both wanted, the first guy wanted the car and the second guy was perfectly okay eating my pizza. He didn't have any problem with that. So there was some lying going on here. Now, since this is about relationships, you're going to say, well, how does this apply to relationships? Well, over the years, I've seen this a lot in sessions. Let me tell you how this plays out. Let's just take romantic relationships. I had a gal come in probably last year, a year or two ago. It's been a while. Very nice looking gal, probably 50, and tell me that her husband was always criticizing her. He was telling her she had put on weight. He liked to make fun of her and say she wasn't as smart as him and call her stupid. He didn't like her personal habits. She drank too much wine. She smoked too many cigarettes, whatever. He always was on her with criticisms. And she's telling me all this. And I go, will you believe this? And she's like, well, yeah, he must really feel like I'm not very attractive. And I go, well, so he wants a divorce. And she's like, well, no, he wouldn't hear that. He'd go crazy. He'd go off. I don't know what he'd do if I told him I wanted to. I said, no, he doesn't want a divorce. She's like, well, no. I go, well, he doesn't want to sleep with you, does he? I mean, he thinks you're overweight and smoke too much and you're not very smart. He doesn't find you very attractive, so he's pulled away from you? She's like, oh my God, no. You'd think he was a teenager in heat. All he does is pester me for sex. And I go, so do you see a problem here? That he's telling you that you're not very valuable, but he wants more of you. And wants it desperately. Same thing, I've had guys come in quite a bit, say, man, my girlfriend or my fiance or my wife is just on me all the time. She's never happy. I'm insensitive and I don't know how to handle her feelings and I'm not emotionally available and she acts like I'm some knuckle dragging Neanderthal and I don't do anything right. I don't put the dishes up right. I don't keep the yard cut the way she likes. I don't hold her hand at the store as often as she wants. I mean, she's just on me all the time. And I'll go, really? Yeah, okay. So she wants a divorce or break up? Oh, no. Well, she says we don't spend enough time together. When she's not criticizing me, she's crying and whining that we need to spend more time together. Isn't that interesting? So she's telling you you're not worth very much, but she wants more of you. That doesn't make sense, does it? Well, it's not only in romantic relationships. Think about what people do. I've had, I just talked about when you're a parent, your kids devalue you and tell you, this all the time. I just got on my daughter for doing this. She's 16. She's always given my wife a hard time. And I intervened and I said, you're negative negotiating. And she's like, what? And I go, well, you're telling mom that she's this and she's that, but then you're trying to get her to watch a movie with you. I said, no, she's not gonna watch. If you do that, every time I hear you do that, I'm intervening. And my wife picked up on it pretty quick and started figuring out how to shut it down too. But I go, that's not an appropriate way to negotiate. If you want to spend time with her, you tell her that it's valuable to spend time together. Well, knock her down. That's a cheap way of negotiating. It's dishonest. People do it. Kids do it with parents all the time. You're a bad dad if you don't give me an extra Twix bar at midnight on a Friday. Yeah, I guess I'll be a bad dad then. Right? Because you're not getting an extra Twix bar at midnight on Friday. But parents do it with children. How many parents tell their kids, you're a failure, you're this, you're no good, you don't ever do the right, but why aren't you over here helping me move? Or why aren't you over here, why don't you call me more often? Right? You probably can get at your job too. Job will tell you you're no good, you're this and that, but we want you to work overtime. It can come from any direction, any relationship. Negative negotiating has no bounds. But we know it's dishonest. So here's what I want you to do with this. I want you to do something with this. I want you to recognize it. Because the first way that you can tell the difference between a valid criticism and an invalid criticism, and I'm talking about the gold standard of reality testing, the difference between a real criticism that somebody really thinks that you're not very attractive, or your food stinks at your restaurant, or you're not any good at what you do, is they don't want more of you. They're not trying to get anything from you. If the criticism is valid, they're going to say, look, I don't find you very attractive anymore. You've put on weight, you've got bad habits, and I don't think you act right. I'm moving on. Or until you shape up, I don't want to sleep with you. I don't want to be around you. Or look, until you learn to provide security for me, if you don't start providing security for me and being more sensitive and tuning into what a woman needs, you're going to get dumped. Or, you know what? You're not a good parent. I don't like you, so I'm not going to chase you. I'm not trying to get things from you. Or, I've got this adult child that I don't really respect. I'm not asking to spend more time from him. I'm not mooching for phone calls every day and wanting him to spend weekends with me. If someone is criticizing you in a valid and honest way, they don't want anything from you. The tell here, the giveaway, is when they say, yeah, you've got a problem. You're not worth this. You're not this. You're not that. You're not, but I want more from you. I want more of you. I'm hungry. I want it. That's how you know when you're being lied to in a negotiation process. And it's a sign of an unhealthy relationship. So here's what I want you to do. That's the first part of recognizing it. A valid from an invalid criticism from a sincerity standpoint is, do they want anything from you? So what I want you to do when someone comes at you this way is I want you to mirror the complaint. I want you to say, wait. So you feel that I'm this and this and this and this? Well, they're going to say, yeah, because they just said it. And you go, wow. Well, listen, if you feel like I've put on weight and I've got bad habits and I'm not very smart, I wouldn't want you to sleep with somebody or be romantic with somebody like that. So I think we'll just take a break from having romance. I think that's off the table. And they're going to go, well, you go, well, no. If you feel that way about me, I wouldn't want you to. I don't want to have sex with you if you think I'm that way. Or, honey, if you really think that I'm that poor at providing you security, then we don't need to spend more time together. We need to spend less time together. I think I'll go hang out at Bill's house and play some pool. I'll get out of your hair because clearly I'm not meeting your needs. So, if I'm not meeting your needs, I'll just go do me. Now, what's going to happen most likely? Now, it's possible that the other person that's negative negotiating will backtrack, but right off the bat. But what they may do is they may take one round of, well, yeah, that's right. That's fine. You just you go play pool with your buddies. Or that's fine. I'll go sleep on the couch. Because they're caught and they want to save face. But long term, they're going to come back to you because they want what you have. The guy really wanted to sleep with his wife. The gal really did want the guy. She wanted to spend more time with him. They just were negotiating in bad faith, deceitfully. So when you mirror this back and you essentially lock them into what they believe about your value, then you limit access. Just like I did with the guy with the car. I said, well, if it's not the car you want, you're not going to buy it. You don't get it. I'm not selling it to you. It ain't price. Well, you're in a relationship. It's not quite that simple. I didn't have a relationship with the guy who was pestering me about the car, nor did I have a relationship with the guy who was pestering me for free pizza. No, but if you're in a relationship with somebody and they negative negotiate you, then you limit access and you say, that's fine. If you feel that way, then you don't get what I have and you don't get me. Well, this is going to cause one of two things to happen. I'm telling you, if you use this technique and use it right, you're going to find something out about the relationship. Because the negative negotiator will either change the way they negotiate and say, well, I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to knock him or her down, or my kid down, or my parent, whatever. I'm not going to be able to get anywhere with that. It's not going to work. So now I'm going to have to negotiate in good faith, or I won't get anything. I'll be out on the couch, or I'll be sitting at home while he's playing pool with his buddies, or watching the playoff game. But if they won't come off the negative negotiating, and you can't retrain them and get them out of this kind of childhood trying to get something for free, or just being a negative, kind of a consumer, then you're going to find it's a toxic relationship that you probably need to get out of. Because if you can't upgrade how people respond to you, and you can't get them to treat you fairly, then that's usually the death knell of a relationship. And I'll tell you, this is what I found out. I have this conversation with people all the time. They'll say, well, Mark, what's the reason people get divorced? Well, the studies said that it's in-laws. The number one reason first marriages fail is in-law. That's probably what showed up on the study. That's what people check, the box they check. I don't believe that people get divorced because of sex or money or in-laws or parenting or anything in all those things, cheating. They're all symptoms. They're symptoms of unfairness. And what my theory is the reason people get divorced and break up, and the reason they quit going to church, or the reason they quit a job, is because they can't stand to be treated unfairly. Let me see if I can put a little spin on this before we close. I think people accept, in general, most people do, that the world's unfair. I've accepted that. Planes crash in the side of a mountain and people die. Little kids get cancer, and sometimes the guy who cheats in business ends up with the Ferrari and the beautiful supermodel. Sometimes the gal who works hard and does the right thing never sees a reward. Always ends up getting screwed. Somebody's nephew gets a promotion, not the person that deserves it. I understand this, and most people will agree. They'll say, yeah, we can accept that. But here's what we can't accept. We can't accept that the one person that we've pledged to be with, that we try to get our immediate, emotional, physical needs met by, is screwing us over. Doesn't care about whether it's fair. I can take the world not being fair, but I can't take my girlfriend, fiance, wife, husband, boyfriend. I can't take that. I can't take the unfairness from them, because that's something that can be helped. Can't change the world, right? Sometimes the good guys win, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes honesty wins out, and sometimes deceit does. But not in a relationship. That person can treat me fairly, and when they don't, and you get treated unfairly, that's when anxiety and depression pops up. Because you start asking, why am I not being treated fairly? And why am I getting screwed? And why is this person doing this to me? And that's a whole other podcast episode. But I want you to have equity in a relationship. I want it to be fair. And the way that you protect yourself from anxiety and depression and have a fair relationship is by identifying and stopping negative negotiating. You're protecting your value, and you're holding your value. And that is an important cognitive behavioral technique that I work with people all the time. Self-protection. How do you protect yourself? Protecting yourself in relationships. I want you to identify the negative negotiating. Identify and in your mind say, well, if it was real criticism, they wouldn't want anything from me, right? If it was real, they'd want less. They're wanting more, so I know they're lying to me. Hold them accountable. Withhold yourself until they change their negotiating tactic. when they come back and say, no, I didn't really mean that. No, you're good. You're very pretty. I want to say, you're good. You. I just, I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. But I want more. Okay, well, that's how you get more. You treat me a certain way, you'll get more. You treat me well, you'll get more sex, you'll get more security, you'll get more emotional attention, you'll get whatever you want if you treat me right. But you got to treat me right. Guy would have come to me at that Walgreens and said, I'll give you $12,000 for the car. He'd have got the car. He thought he was getting it for 5 or 6. He could have bought the motor for that. He wouldn't get the car for that. Funny story. The guy who bought the car from me showed up, and I was in Indiana by then. I'd taken it up north and moved to Indiana. And this guy was wonderful. He had bought the car because he was on, I think his 40th wedding anniversary. He bought it for a 40th wedding anniversary present for his wife because it was the first car they ever went on a date with. He had a 69 Dodge Dart GT. And he said, she's going to flip her lid when she sees I brought home a car that looks exactly like the one, and it wasn't purple. And he goes, I don't know if she'll go with the purple, but she likes purple, so I'd probably be okay. He made me feel good about selling that car to him. And that's the way transactions should be. They should be good. So I'm shooting for making your life better by helping you get treated fairly in relationships. That's what I'm on board for. Now listen, I don't do this to make money. I'm not interested in selling you anything. Yeah, you want to go to my website and you want to buy, I got a link to my book off Amazon, Toxic Words, 20 Things You Should Never Say to Yourself. I'll have another one coming out here soon. I got another book on parenting that I'm finishing up. That's fine. Amazon will send me a couple bucks if you buy a copy, but that's not really, I don't pay much attention to that. What I do this for is because for 2 reasons. One, there's not enough therapists. There's not enough good therapists. There's not enough any therapists. There's a shortage everywhere. And a lot of people can't find anyone to do counseling with. And then other people don't have, the second reason, don't have good benefits. A lot of benefit plans don't have behavioral health on, or they can't afford the copay. Copay is $50. Who can afford $50 a week? Yeah, some people can, but not everybody. Or private pay. Shoot, entry-level therapists that just are in the process of getting their license are charging $100 an hour cash. It's not an easy thing. So I want to do this. I'm giving to you what I give to people in sessions. Now, if you like it and it's helpful, subscribe to the channel. That'll be great. I just want to make a difference. And if you have any questions you want to ask me, a specific question, because I can't take clients because I work for the Department of Defense, and I can't do side work, right, with new clients. Send me a question through my website, thecomfortablecouchshow.com. There's a button on there that says ask Mark the therapist or something. I get enough questions, I'll do a mailbag episode and I'll answer your question to the best of my ability in detail. I'll be happy to do it. So I'm glad you joined me. I appreciate it. It always feels good to talk about these things, and I hope I'm able to help. And if I can be of any help, let me know. Send me a question. But again, so listen, signing off on this episode with what I always tell you to do, which is keep your thoughts clear, straight, and true. And I look forward to seeing you again on the Comfortable Couch Show. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Heard you crying, try.